Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. I have another Series 2000 Goosebumps book review for you. Of course, recently I finished up the Give Yourself Goosebumps books. They're all done, I ranked everything I could, and now I'm working on the Series 2000 books with some breaks here and there. Every couple of books I'll read something else, do some reviews on that stuff, and then come back to Series 2000. But for right now, my sights are set on Series 2000, trying to finish these up and get them wrapped up and reviewed and ranked and all that stuff. Anyway, here we are with Goosebumps Series 2000, number 15, Scream School. Every time I've ever looked at this cover, with this ghoul with a melting face, look at that. With the detailing, he's drawing some kind of skull. I never noticed that until this time. There's papers on the wall I tried to read and I couldn't make them out. Never was impressed with this cover. It kind of looked like a cover that wouldn't impress me that much for a book that probably wouldn't impress me that much. And I'll tell you this, I was wrong in a lot of cases, I was right in a lot of cases when it came to Scream School. I had heard good things, I genuinely heard good things, and I think there's a lot of people out there in the community who make videos, or who are just fans who comment on different videos in the community, who are much bigger fans of this than I am. With my interest in movies and how much I love film, and especially horror films and everything else, you'd think I'd be more into this than I was. And for the most part, with the setting, with the situations, I was into it. With the concept that's kind of there and kind of not, for a kind of plotless book that's kind of not plotless at the same time, I was there for the most part. But a lot of the time it kind of lost me, and the ending kind of lost me too, unfortunately. Anyway, Scream School is basically about a kid who has a father who's a famous horror director, not really a writer, but just a director. And the film starts off with them being at one of the sets of his newest movie that he's making. And I love this idea. It's one of those books, kind of like Fright Camp, that's also a Series 2000 book, that I really love. Anything in Goosebumps focused on movies. Shocker on Shock Street's probably the best one of all of them. That one, I Am Slappy's Evil Twin, is another Hollywood kind of horror movie focused type of book. And I love when Stein does that. I think it's a great way to go for a lot of Goosebumps stories. You expect them to be a little bit bigger in scale, but they're really not. They're kind of small-scale stories, and that's the case basically with Scream School, and that's a good thing for the kind of book we're getting here. Scream School is essentially, we start off with the book having our main character at the actual set pretty much every day with his dad, while his dad makes this new movie. I think it's Scream School 5, because later in the book they announce that they're making Scream School 6, but I think this is Scream School 5 in the series. Anyway, I don't know if his dad made every single movie, I could be wrong about that. Anyway, the son, our main character, gets scared, hides underneath his chair, and his dad, who he isn't allowed to call dad or father, he just has to call him Emery, which is his actual first name. I don't get that. For anybody out there who actually does that with your parents, your actual biological parents, why? I don't understand that. To me, calling your parent by their first name, it's supposed to be, like they say in the book, more of a we're best friends, we're buddies type of thing. But to me it comes across more formal than calling your dad dad or your mom mom. I don't understand that. It's just the most bizarre thing to me. But that's done throughout the entire book, and for whatever reason that gets on my nerves more and more because of how Emery, the father, is. He's just annoying, he's obnoxious, he's always trying to deliberately go out of his way to find ways to scare his kid. And I don't hate that, don't get me wrong. I'm a very mean-spirited man myself. I'd probably do that to my kids if I had kids. Anytime I do, God willing, I'm going to do it. I'm going to mess with them a lot. But I want them to know I love them, and I feel like Emery crosses the line a little too often. And this is the thing. Our main character kid does not get scared that easily. He really doesn't. He loves horror movies. He loves the horror culture and community in general. He is basically us. If you're reading Goosebumps all the time, this kid is basically you and I. And I love that about him. He's a good kid. I like kind of reading his perspective on a lot of things. But one of the most annoying things about this book, aside from how the dad treats his kid, is also how everybody, the father, friends, new acquaintances, the mother, everybody is constantly talking down about this kid when he's sitting right there saying, well, why did you pull this prank on him? He's too scared now. It's his birthday. He's scared. It's the weirdest thing I've ever experienced in a Goosebumps book, is a family dynamic or just a world dynamic of everybody always talking about how this character feels without asking him how he feels. You can get scared of a jump scare in a YouTube video and not be, like, scared of the rocking chair that was rocking right before the face popped up on the camera. You know what I mean? Like, that's not fair. And a lot of people in here don't get that. But It's a book. It's fiction, whatever. But it's worth pointing out. I think it's a really obnoxious trait of the Scream School book. Anyway, as I said, as you can kind of tell, it's kind of a plotless read. It's mostly about the dad making movies, this son, our main character, kind of being there for that sometimes. We have some of the sad stories, some things going wrong every once in a while. However, the actual Scream School movie, which is Scream School 6, that's actually filmed in the book that really kind of gets us into sort of a plot, is about halfway through the book. It's 120 pages long, and it takes until about page 60 or 70 to actually get to the movie we're filming that actually creates the real plot of the story. They go to a deserted, abandoned school out in the desert to film their new Scream School 6 movie. The father says that the mom is going out to see her sister. He doesn't want the son, our main character, sitting at home all the time with the maid by himself. Which, I mean, you're rich. The kid could find something to do. He's a good kid, not going to cause trouble. I think he'd be fine. But anyway, the dad, Emery, wants his son to come with him to go make the movie. And he promises before they go he's not going to terrify him and try to do all these horrible pranks. There's no reason to trust this man. He's been doing it since you were born. Why would you trust this guy? Just because you're like 12 years old now. Anyway, terrible idea. But he goes, and while they're on the set in this desert for this abandoned school to make this movie, a lot of things are going weird, a lot of things are going odd. Some of the extras are a little weird. Some of the crew and cast members are a little odd. And one particular cast member who's been in the previous film and this one they're filming later on in the book is named Johnny Scream, and he is basically, I assume, who this character is supposed to be, even though he's described very differently with like black long fingernails and black lipstick, I think is what they said. Eyeliner, I assume, too, like the Crow. And I don't know how much this melted-faced man, this Jason Voorhees with red hair, even though Jason had red hair too, I don't know what this guy's supposed to be or why he's on this cover of this book. I assume it's partially kind of the Johnny Scream character, but he's not a big part of the story. And I was excited for a lot of this book because it looked like the Scream School series is kind of a slasher movie series. I'm a big slasher fan, so I was hoping that would be something kind of cool and something fun we could do. And that's really not played out that much in this book, frankly. Which is what it is. I don't really expect it to be. It's a kid's book. There are a couple of gruesome scenes, one in particular involving a school lunch for a scene in the later half of the book. That was pretty horrific. I fell for it. But I will tell you this, the book itself, Scream School, is kind of predictable. You know, I don't really feel that way a lot of the time about Goosebumps books. No matter how many people say they're typically predictable, I understand that you could call it that, but a lot of the time to me, Stein does a really good job of making you wonder between two options. Is this real or is this fake? He does a really good job typically with that, and you don't really always know until it's officially revealed in a book about whether something was real or fake, and that tension that he builds with that really works. Ghost Camp is a phenomenal example of that. You Can't Scare Me, another great example of that. Night of the Living Dummy, 1, 2, and 3, all really good examples of that in my personal opinion. Haunted Mask 1 and 2, really good ones. The Horrors of the Black Ring, one of the more recent Series 2000 books I read that I was really impressed by, another great example of that. There's a lot of examples of Stein doing that over and over and over again, and making you kind of wonder what the situation is. Is it really predictable? I don't think it always is. I think it's unfair to say that just because it's a kid's book. A lot of people want to feel smart. They say that. This book, however, Scream School, is very predictable. I think I predicted every single twist pretty much in this book. Outside of the gruesome scene, I talked about the lunchroom thing. But everything else, main beats of the story, the ending, all of it, I predicted every bit of that. And if I can do that, then I think most people could do that. Because I'm not the best predictor. I also think it's unfair to constantly say you predicted this and predicted that. If you had like a billion guesses in your head, you didn't predict anything. It's unfair to the book, unfair to the writer. But with that being said, this book, I don't love it. I admired a lot of it. I enjoyed reading it. Does that make sense? I didn't really feel like there's a plot here, but I enjoyed reading the book from beginning to end. I just feel like it doesn't really have a whole lot to offer, being predictable, being kind of plotless. It is what it is. Scream School is kind of a letdown, and I always wondered if it would be. It's less of a letdown than I thought it would be, based on the cover here, which I don't hate the cover, by the way, just so you know. I just feel like it's not as good as I wanted it to be, frankly. And with the whole movie focus, like, again, with Shocker on Shock Street, one of my favorite Goosebumps books of all time, I was really hoping for more, if I'm being honest with you. But I was kind of let down with this. It really wasn't... anything I loved, anything I really want to look back at rereading anytime soon in the future, or even the near future, like the next 5 years. It's just kind of, it is what it is. It's very, very bland for the most part. Even though I like the settings and stuff. I like the movie setting stuff. I think all that's really cool. That concept is pretty cool, and I don't think we do it enough in Goosebumps, frankly. But overall, when it comes to Goosebumps Series 2000, number 15, Scream School, I'm not a fan of this one. It's good, it has its moments, very predictable, as I said, kind of a letdown for the most part. I feel like I wouldn't recommend this to a ton of people. If you're a big Series 2000 fan and you love the darker books that Series 2000 typically are, this has elements of that. It's not as dark as something like Return to Horrorland or you know, just the big ones. The big stuff you can think out of there about Series 2000 being dark, like the Horrors of the Black Ring. It's nothing compared to those types of books. It's fine for what it is. It's above average for a Series 2000 book, for sure. There's not many bad Series 2000 books, in my opinion. But this one being pretty plotless throughout most of it, it has interesting moments to gather you through, but there's a lot of obnoxiousness to it, a lot of annoying parts, annoying characters, annoying character traits that really irritate me, that drug this book through the mud for me. It just kind of sucks in that regard. But a lot of it's good. It genuinely has a lot of good moments. I really hope I'm not forgetting to tell you and remind you of that too often in this review, because it actually does have some really good stuff in here, or some stuff reading it for, in my opinion. Anyway, have you read Scream School from Series 2000? What did you guys think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about my review, about the book, everything. If I had to rate this book from R.L. Stine on a 5-star basis, I'd probably give it about a 3 out of 5. It's a weak 3 out of 5, but it's a 3 out of 5 nonetheless. It's a fun experience. It's kind of like a roller coaster ride. There's really not much to be said about it. I got on, I had fun, and then I got off. That's pretty much what this is like. Anyway, Scream School, that's my review for that. I have one more review for another Series 2000 book, then I'm going to take a break and read some other stuff really quick, just a couple of books, and then come back to Series 2000. So hopefully I will have another Series 2000 review for you tomorrow, guys. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here for all the current uploads and not re-uploads. I haven't done any re-uploads. Thank you for being around for all these uploads recently. I know it's been a lot of content on your feed, but I hope you enjoyed what you've seen so far. I hope that we can wrap this channel up here soon with all the book reviews and stuff. We are so close. This is book number 5 of my last 5 Series 2000 books. I have 4 more, and then we're done. I'll do the ranking stuff and all that, as I said earlier. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. God bless you all, and goodbye.